So what we've been doing in this section is exploring the 5 great stages of the path. What Buddhist meditation is about discovering the consciousness that is embodied in the figure behind me. You're trying to move towards, even in tiny, tiny ways, towards that kind of majesty, that kind of transcendence. That figure is saying that the meaning of the world lies beyond the world, that there is a consciousness beyond everyday consciousness, which makes sense of everything, which is endless and mysterious, and which all Buddhist practices are aiming towards. But to move towards that, first of all, you need integration. So we've been exploring integration in the morning. I think Jan of Archer was exploring integration. Then we've been exploring positive emotion. Subhadramati has been exploring that. You need to know yourself. You need to take ownership of your life. You need to accept full responsibility for your life in integration. And then we all need to cultivate positivity, cultivate loving kindness, cultivate courage, cultivate an outward-looking attitude to life, not a neurotic or conflicted or negative attitude to life. Because negative attitudes to life, they distort our capacity to see things. We're not trying to be a nice person or a good person. We're trying to effectively purify our mind so that we can see things as they are and become a Buddha. Anytime we're in a negative state of mind, we distort experience. Yeah? There are lots to say about that, but do have a look at the videos we've already posted from this week. If you haven't looked at integration and positive emotion, they're absolutely essential as part of the path. You can't get around that. Some people try to, and then they get into trouble later on and they have to start again. I think I tried to a bit. I thought, I wanted insight. I wasn't frankly that bothered about love or integration, but later on, and I soon had to be bothered about those things. So do go back and watch those steps. But between each step, really, or another very central kind of theme of this path towards enlightenment is receptivity. And it's that I want to concentrate on today. So there are 2 particular elements of receptivity I want to concentrate on. And then I'm going to lead us in a meditation in which we cultivate receptivity. The first is receptivity in the sense of, simply being open, simply opening yourself to things, opening yourself, to your own experience, opening yourself to others, to the influence of others, particularly the spiritual influence of others, particularly perhaps your friends and teachers, opening up to that. I've talked about this before, but that's got its own, not quite dangers, but it's got its own problems if you get it wrong. But if you're not receptive, you won't learn. Something that we need to all keep coming back to. I've been ordained for, 30 years, very, very soon, in a few days' time, actually. And I need to keep coming back to being receptive. It's too easy in anything to start thinking you know stuff. And it's fine to think you know stuff, but golly, it's very poor what we know. It's not much. So one of the practices, particularly if you've been meditating for a while, is just be very careful not to start being too clear that you know stuff. We need to come back again and again to not knowing, to opening up, to being receptive to our friends, receptive to people around us, learning the lessons that life is teaching us by opening up to it. Yeah. And what we're going to do in this meditation is be receptive before we meditate. So before we actually try to do the metta bhavana, which we'll do a little bit of, although I'll take it in a particular direction today. Before we even try to do metta, let's just be receptive. Then we'll do some metta bhavana. And then I want to leave a space at the end to just be receptive again. In a way, ideally, that's what you'd have in meditation. You'd sit down every time and you wouldn't just sort of pitch into doing the mindfulness of breathing, the metta bhavana, you'd just be receptive first. Open up to how you're feeling, how the body feels, your sensations just now, if there's anything on your mind, you just open up like that. And ideally, you'd do that at the end of every meditation as well. You wouldn't just sort of finish the meditation and off you go to your emails, tempting though that is. And I've done it, and I bet you've done it. You ideally be receptive. Yeah. Of course, receptivity is not just a matter of what you do in meditation. It's something you're doing, trying to have in your life all the time. So another element of receptivity I wanted to bring in is receptive to the natural world, to the beauty of nature, and to works of art. Is another important practice of receptivity. Things seem so beautiful at the moment. It's strange, isn't it? Because there's so much suffering at the moment of one kind or another, mental suffering, financial fears, and illness, and COVID and so on. But at the same time, certainly around me, we're having beautiful weather in London at the moment. The park is so beautiful, so full of blackbirds and candles of chestnut trees and greenness. Yeah. But what we need to try to cultivate is a receptivity to them, which becomes a kind of animistic consciousness of nature. What we're looking for is not mere appreciation. That's too notional. What we're looking for is to open up to something much deeper, which is an animistic sense of nature, that nature is alive from its own side, that it's not inert. What we've done in modern world is destroy the world. We've taken away all the spirits and gods and mud spirits and sprites and water spirits and demons, and we've said, oh no, all of that's inside me. And by doing that, we've said that the world outside is inert, it's dead effectively. And then we can dissect it, and then we can destroy it because it's already dead. That's a completely new mindset for human beings. Human beings have always, traditionally, in any culture, in any society, have lived in the feeling of the earth itself being conscious in its own way, of trees, of water, of objects, having their own kind of consciousness, nothing like our consciousness perhaps, but having their own life. And what you're trying to get in receptivity is a felt sense of resonant life for life. I remember at the end of one of the solitary retreats I've been on, one of the things I love to do on solitary retreat, because on a solitary retreat, you have no phone, no internet. All there is 3 meals a day and meditation pretty much, and a few books. And what I do is I just sit outside for a long time and just look at nature and wait until I start to feel the glimmerings. And golly, these things are long buried in us, the glimmerings of an animistic response, of a sense that nature is conscious of me in some kind of way as I am conscious of it. Now, you might find that fanciful, but golly, human beings have lived like this for untold time. My experience tells me there's something in it. I remember one solitary, it felt like if I waited long enough, all the trees around the hut I was staying in would sort of slightly turn towards me. It was as if we were in relationship. The difficulty now is so much of our relationships with everything, each other, even the world itself, is through the screen. And that's become even more the case, hasn't it, in this pandemic? But when you go for your walk today, or just sit in your garden and with a cup of tea and just keep waiting, you'll get bored and you'll get, your thumb will start to twitch because you'll want to, thumb twitching. I haven't got those thumbs. The particular kind of thumb that only seems to have been developed in human beings in the last 20 years. But you'll start to want to do something on your phone. See if you can just sort of wait and let the natural world come to you. What you'll also find is if you sit still enough, nature will come to you. Blackbirds will come down into the grass next to you. And I remember on that same solitary, I was sitting there for so long, eventually this hair came all the way up to me, because if you don't move, they're not worried by you. And it was just like a blessing. Great big hair, you know, beautiful gold, like lion golden hair, loped towards me, like amazing. So that's another element of receptivity. It's cultivating or rather uncovering our birthright, which is this primal sense of us being part of nature. I think this has environmental consequences. If we all could feel that more, we'd love the world more. I'm very aware of, like many of us are, of fear, global fears, but just being driven by ideology about that, or even indignation about that, understandable though that is, completely understandable though that is, won't be enough. What we'll need to do is uncover something much more fundamental, a sense of unity with partaking in nature, not a sentimentalized version of it. Very easy to sentimentalize nature. I was walking around the park yesterday, and I was looking at a nest of coots, and just in Victoria, the lake there at Victoria Park, lovely mother and father, and little tiny baby coots where they're tiny, about that big. And as I watched, this gull came down and snatched one of the babies and ate it. It was really shocking. I didn't even know gulls did that. But you suddenly heard this noise, and there it was on the nest, picking out one of the babies, just flew off with it and ate this baby. So we have to be a bit careful not to sentimentalize nature, because nature is definitely red in tooth and claw. But we're part of that. We can be red in tooth and claw as well. Only too much so. So yeah, see if you can today and for the rest of the retreat, try and give yourself time to feel a resonance with nature. As I say, it's not just an appreciation. It's not an ideology of people doing terrible things to nature. We're all doing pretty terrible things to nature just by our existence. We need something much, much deeper, a deep sense of unity with the natural world. And then finally, I wanted to talk about an even deeper element of receptivity. I hope we can come back to this later in the retreat, because really this starts to take us into wisdom, which is what Subhuti, one of my teachers, a wonderful teacher and the president of the London Buddhist Centre, do look him up if you haven't heard him teach. He's a remarkable teacher. He's my public preceptor. He talks about Dharmic responsiveness. Dharmic just means truthful, valueful responsiveness. So we human beings have got a capacity to respond to value. We've actually also got a capacity to wall ourselves off from value. We've got a capacity to be anti-value. In fact, if you're not cultivating a capacity to respond to value, what you'll be doing is naysaying value. You'll be naysaying the truth. And if you're not careful, that becomes this rather glib, sophisticated, clever, sort of slightly cynical know-it-allness, which is just disgusting. But all of us have got this capacity to instinctively respond to value and truth. For instance, my partner's daughter, she's 13 now, Alex, and Gary, my partner, he's been, he's just been doing things like buying newspapers for people in the blocks he lives with, gets to milk for people. He's been actually really helping out in his local area. I mean, you hear lots of stories of this, don't you, at the moment, of people just helping out people and creating this sense of solidarity with each other. I really hope we don't lose that. But I was telling Alex about what her father was doing, and she actually always said, that is so cool. You could see her natural response to value, to something that's a good thing. I didn't need to say, isn't that a good thing? I just tell the story of what he was doing, and you could see her really light up and was really pleased. And she was telling her mother a lot that that's what he had been doing. So we've all got this instinct to respond to the truth. You know what it's like when your friend suddenly tells you the truth, and you listen with that. Suddenly you're really listening, aren't you? I remember a while ago talking to Kshatikara, I don't know whether he's tuned in, and he was just very honest. And when before that moment, you're trying to listen and you're doing your best and you're being friendly and you're being civilized and so on. But it's so easy for a part of you not to be quite attending. But when someone tells you the truth, or when someone admits something, or when someone apologizes or says, oh gosh, I'm really sorry about that, suddenly you're really there. It's like you don't need to will it anymore. There's just this instinctive response to the truth. You just go, you don't even go anything. Your body, your heart, your mind opens out to the truth, doesn't it? Without will. The other experience I had of this just recently, many of you I hope will have been there virtually for this, was Sthiramanas's ordination here in the main shrine room. He was ordained only a few weeks ago in the middle of lockdown. One of the highlights for me of this whole time. And we'd organized it so that Matt, who's upstairs at the moment teaching children online to play the piano, I think, or the flute, I can't remember it. We'd asked Matt if he would play some music at the end of the ceremony. We all went outside and were chanting. And we asked him to play something on his saxophone. And he just played, we had the mantra, and then at the end of the mantra died down, something died down, and he just played a few bars of music. And I could feel everybody sort of go, wow. I didn't need to say to her, look, someone's this is music now. So it's really good if you kind of open up to that and feel that, because it's really lovely, it's really beautiful. So just try and open to that. As soon as he started playing, I could feel everyone we were all different communities standing at, social distance away from each other in our different places, but everybody's heart opened up immediately to beauty, to sound. You could almost feel it. We had 1,000 people watching online. Yeah, you could almost feel all of those people open up. Yeah. So this is Dharmic responsiveness, this capacity to have to open up to the truth, to open up to value, to open up to beauty. This is what receptivity matures into. Yeah. And eventually this becomes the key element of your life. So all your life needs to be, you don't need to worry too much about making progress or getting insight or any of that stuff. All you need is Dharmic responsiveness, so that you're continually opening up to the truth. And that'll take you deeper and deeper into the mysteries of the Dharma, into the mysteries of the Buddha, into the mysteries of human communication. Eventually, what you become is an instance, a living expression of Dharmic responsiveness. That's what the Buddha was. He didn't have to think stuff. He didn't have to prepare stuff. He didn't have to think. He never thought, what do you think of me? He just opened up naturally, without any will, without any effort, to what was there in front of him. If it was beautiful, he'd experience beauty. If someone was being difficult, he'd just think, what's going on there? He just naturally just opens up in Dharmic responsibility. That's all he was by the end, was an instance of opening up ever more, all the time, instinctively, naturally, without will, without self, to the truth of things. Yeah. Okay, so that's enough to say about all that. I want to come back to that later on in the retreat. I do think it's absolutely crucial to an understanding of the Dharma, to an understanding of life. But let's set ourselves up now so that we can meditate. So if you've got, like tight top button on or anything like that, you can just loosen that so that you can breathe. Make sure you're as comfortable as possible. And some of you will be relieved to know I'm now not going to read a poem. That was a joke, but also sort of true, isn't it? Okay, so when you're ready, closing your eyes. And you might want to dim the lights of your screen so that you've not got the glare of the screen in your eyes. It's quite a relief, isn't it, just to close your eyes and come away from the screen We know that the light from computers is making us constantly a little bit jet lagged. So we need to get away from it. And then as soon as you've got yourself set up, just really feeling the weight of your body on the floor. Letting your body rest down. And first of all, just softening your brow, softening your eyes. Softening your jaw. And see if you can let go of your shoulders. And sometimes all you need to do is just imagine your shoulders letting go. You can't make yourself relax with an act of will. If you try to will yourself into relaxing, that won't work. So just imagine your shoulders releasing. Imagining all of those muscles smoothing out, calming down. And see if you can soften your belly. And the way to soften your belly is to, in a way, take your attention below the belly, deep in the pelvic area. See if you can let go of that whole area in the pelvis around the groin. That'll help you soften your belly. So just imagining your whole body calming down, quietening down. Calming your body, calming your mind. We're going to do a period of the Metta Bhavana. Before we do that, I want us to be just receptive, sit for a while without trying to do anything very much. Just see if you can be receptive to how you are just now. So the first area to do that is just become receptive to your body. See if you can be aware of the whole body. So you're not trying to particularly focus on any particular area of the body. You're not trying to change the sensations of your body. You're just trying to open up to them. Keep opening up to your whole body. Being receptive to the sensations in your body. And then see if you can be receptive to how you're feeling just now. And you don't need to worry too much about emotions. Very often we don't feel emotions quite. But we can feel okay or not okay, or quite bland and neutral. But without making too big a deal of it, just open up to how you feel. Is your experience something pleasurable? Or not very nice, not very good, doesn't feel very pleasant? Or is it a bit neutral and a bit difficult to know what it is? So take an interest in all that. Try to be curious about how you're doing just now. And you're not trying to analyze how you are just now. You're just trying to be receptive to it. And then coming back to the weight of your body on the cushions or the chair. Come back to your body. This more simple sense of the weight of your body. And then bringing your attention into your heart center. So the center of your chest. I don't mean the literal heart, but the heart center in your chest. Again, see if you can be sensitive. See if you can be receptive to any feelings or sensations you feel there. And if you feel you don't feel any sensations there, what does not being able to feel something feel like? It's not a literal absence. And see if you can open up to the last stage of the metta-bhavana. So just imagining feelings of love and kindness, feelings of well-wishing emanating from your heart. And you can just imagine this or picture this. You could perhaps imagine everyone meditating just now together, connected with each other, wishing each other well. Or you can just imagine those nearest and dearest to you and then extending out more and more. So it's as if your heart starts to shine with love, with metta, with well-wishing. You might bring to mind people who are suffering just now, perhaps people you know. wishing them well. But keep coming back to the heart. Imagining your heart opening up, rays of well-wishing spreading out in all directions. And then relax your effort for a moment. Just come back to being receptive to the heart area, to whatever you feel there. And if you don't feel very much, or you don't feel anything, or you think you don't feel anything, don't worry about that, That's not a problem. Just be interested in that not being able to feel anything feeling. It's not threatening. And then extending your awareness to include your whole body. Just again, being receptive to your body sensations. Filling your body with awareness. And that's much simpler than it sounds. You're just opening up to whatever you can feel in the body. You're trying to include as much as you can notice. And then again, coming back to sensitivity, receptivity to your heart center. And you're just trying to be receptive to what you can feel, not what you think you should feel or ought to feel. But any sensations that you do feel, however bland, however nondescript. And then once again, without forcing it, just wishing all beings well. May all beings be well. May all beings be happy. May they be free from suffering. May they make progress. And then coming back again to the weight of your body on the chair or the cushions. And just being receptive. Receptive to your body, to your heart, to your mind, to the sounds around you. Okay. So that's the beginning of an exploration of receptivity, Dharmic responsiveness, which we'll come back to, particularly this matter of Dharmic responsiveness later in the retreat as we go into the wisdom element of the retreat a little bit. So in a moment, we'll go into breakout groups as usual. And I think in the breakout groups, if you can, it'd be good to just say how you got on with that. What we're trying to learn in the breakout groups, I think, I mean, partly we're just trying to tune in with each other, get to know each other a bit as much as we can, building a sense of community, a community of friends. But also we're trying to help each other reflect valuably on our experience, rather than rushing in with opinions about our experience or even, unthought through judgments. We're trying to sort of reflect on our experience more, get interested in our experience more. And usually we need to do that with other people, with the help of other people. So in a minute, Michael will press the magic button and we'll all get zoomed around the universe into these little breakout groups. And we'll do that for half an hour, so a chance to say how you're getting on the retreat, how you get on with that meditation. And then you've got a break after that, and before we have body work at midday, and then Vidyadhaka leading some more study on loving kindness, on this very ancient sutra, and then an evening tonight on the meaning of mindfulness. So still plenty to do today, but let's now zoom off into our